Hey y'all, welcome back to Ramblin' Mama. I'm Lisa. If you're new here and you're into deep dives on true crime, please consider giving me a subscribe. I think you'll like what you see. In today's video, it's a continuation of the O.J. Simpson series that I started last week. If you didn't see that video, I'm gonna link it below. We're gonna pick up with the events on the day of the murder, a look into Ron Goldman. Also, we're gonna be talking about the infamous Bronco chase, basically everything before the trial. Hey y'all, Lisa from the future popping in to say there's a lot of things that I want to add after I filmed about Kato, both the dog and the person, as well as just some other mistakes that I made that I wanted to clarify. Okay. Just a reminder that I am not an expert. This is just based on my own research and the research of Molly Robichaux. Thank you again, Molly, for all your hard work. Please feel free to do your own research and to form your own opinion, and please remember to be kind to each other in the comments below. Without any further ado, let's get into it. On the day of the murders, Nicole Brown Simpson spent the morning shopping, and later she called her family to make plans for her daughter Sydney's recital later that night. Around 4:30, Nicole and her family arrived at Sydney's dance recital, which was being held at Paul Revere Middle School. OJ arrived at the school about 15 minutes later and sat behind Nicole and her family during the event. After the recital, Nicole and her family went out to eat at a restaurant in Los Angeles by the name of Mezzaluna. Nicole's family, even though they previously had a really good relationship with OJ, they told him that he was not invited to this family dinner. I think this should give us a pretty good indication of Nicole's family's opinion of OJ, despite him trying to say that he and Nicole were completely fine. Her family not inviting him to dinner, to me, says a lot. Even though Nicole's family didn't invite OJ, on the night that she was murdered, Nicole told her mother that OJ will always be her soulmate. The deeper you dig into this relationship, the more you understand how layered and messed up and toxic and cyclical the whole dynamic was. So OJ returned to his estate on Rockingham Avenue, where he vented to his friend and house guest, B-list actor Kato Kaelin. He was basically bitching about the fact that he wasn't invited to dinner with Nicole and her family. I am going to devote an entire video to this, but I can't help but interject in the meantime. In OJ's book, he gives such a radically different account of Nicole's relationship with Kato. What he tries to paint it as is that Nicole hated Kato so much that OJ benevolently offered to allow Kato to stay with him as a house guest, where previously Kato had been living in Nicole's guest house and taking care of her kids, and her kids loved Kato so much that they actually named their Akita after him. So all signs pointed to this being a very beneficial and mutual arrangement between Nicole and Kato. The only hiccup came when, after the divorce, Nicole had to sell her place in San Francisco. And in order to avoid a massive tax bill from that, she was going to claim to the IRS that she was taking the proceeds from the sale of that place in San Francisco and putting it into the house on Bundy and claiming that as an investment property, and then she wouldn't have to pay taxes on it. But that forced her to have to say that her primary residence was at OJ's house on Rockingham. And we know how law-abiding OJ is, so he wasn't willing to commit fraud, which, okay, whatever, I guess that's fair, but it's also advantageous to a scorned lover. So he refused to do that. And he also wasn't okay with Kato living in the same home as Nicole because her place on Bundy didn't have a guest house. So in his book, he tries to present it as Nicole started hating Kato suddenly for no reason, just because she felt like he was a freeloader. But from other accounts, he was jealous of Cato staying with Nicole, and also as an added benefit would screw her out of that additional income from Cato paying rent to her and being able to use him as childcare from time to time. He offered Cato a rent-free place to stay with him because he's such a benevolent saint of a person. Around 7:35 p.m., OJ phoned a former Los Angeles Raiderette and left her a message saying, "It's Orenthal James, who is finally at a place in his life where he is like totally unattached." Nicole and her family left Mezzaluna at 8:30. At 9 p.m., OJ and Cato drove over to McDonald's and arrived back at his Rockingham residence at 9:25 p.m. Nicole's mother, Juditha, then realized that she had left her glasses behind at Mezzaluna. So she called them to notify them of this, and she asked them to be on the lookout for her glasses. Then she gave Nicole a call to fill her in on the whole glasses situation. After Nicole hung up the phone with her mother, she called Mezzaluna and spoke to a staff member. And then this staff member said, "Look, we just had an employee finish his shift. He's gonna bring you the glasses over to your house shortly in a white envelope." And as we all know, this kind-hearted employee's name was Ron Goldman. Ron went home to his house to change, and then he drove the 6 blocks to Nicole's house on Bundy Drive in the Brentwood neighborhood of Los Angeles to deliver Juditha's glasses. I know there was a lot of speculation out there. Everything from Ron was a lover of Nicole's to he was a hopeful lover of Nicole's to they were just friends. Tell me what you think in the comments below. To me, it seems like this was just a friend of Nicole's who knew her because she came into Mezzaluna a lot, and he was doing the stand-up guy thing of making it very easy and delivering it to her. What do you think their relationship was? What do you think his motive was for coming over that night? Let me know in the comments below. Ron Goldman was born to Fred Goldman and Sharon Rufo and had 2 siblings, Kimberly and Brian. He was born on July 2nd, 1969 in Cook County, Illinois. When Ron was a child, his parents divorced. He lived with his mother, but he eventually moved in with his father, Fred, and sister, Kimberly, and lived in Buffalo Grove near Chicago. Ron graduated high school in 1986 and enrolled in Illinois State University to obtain a degree in psychology. However, he soon relocated to California. He started work as a tennis instructor to make a living. He also picked up modeling gigs and worked as a server to make extra money. Ron enrolled in Pierce College and spent a lot of time surfing and playing volleyball. He obtained his emergency medical technician license, but soon discovered he was colorblind, and that prevented him from doing this kind of work. Ron had aspirations of becoming an actor, and he spent a lot of free time at the gym perfecting his physique.
All right. Right next to me is Ron Goldman, a 23-year-old tennis pro. Give him a big hand for coming down here. All right. And down at the end is Anthony Paduano, a 24-year-old bartender. Welcome, Anthony. Good to have you here. All right. Guys, here's the deal. The guy with the most hearts at the end of the show is crowned King Stud in a fabulous ceremony with little children and lily pads. It's really beautiful. And you also are entitled to a fabulous date with the woman, and we pay for it. Perfect? All right. Ron, we'll start with you. You make a good impression on the phone with a woman?
I guess so. I don't like to talk a lot on the phone, so I'm kind of blunt and to the point. Just let's get it going.
Be ready at 8. I'll be there. Boom.
Be there.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. We asked the ladies what their impressions were of you when they talked to you on the phone, Ron. And here's what they said. One of them said, rough, wild, and oh, so sexy. Second lady said, this guy is mucho macho. Third lady said, uh-oh, I got a date with Pauly Shook.
Uh-oh.
No, come on. Say it right.
Uh-oh, got a date with Pauly Shore. Connie.
Connie?
No.
Oh. What'd you say, Constance?
I said this guy is mucho macho.
Really? Why?
Well, because when I first talked to him on the phone, he had a deep voice, like a man should. And I thought this guy better be hot with personality like that, so.
Meaning his personality was great, or?
He was kind of, like you said, straightforward on the phone, to the point, kind of cocky, you know.
And did you like that?
No.
Okay. Who thought they were talking to Pauly Shore? Who was that? Oh, Diane. Why?
Because he told me he was going to go play volleyball at the beach, and I pictured a long hair, skinny. Because he sounded like a beach bum, sort of like Pauly Shore.
Uh-huh. Is that your type?
No, not really. But he didn't look like that, so.
Okay. All right. Anthony.
Here I am.
Good. What's the first thing you notice about a woman?
Most of all, I like full, sexy lips. That's my favorite.
Why?
I love to kiss. I love to kiss a lot. I like kissing.
Okay. All right, well, we asked the ladies what they noticed about your looks, Anthony. And here's what they said. One of them said, love that big nose.
Thank you. Thank you.
Second lady said, he's everything I've ever lusted for in a man. Third lady said, yo, he looks just like Rocky, the flying squirrel.
Love that big nose would have to be Diane.
Yeah.
There you go. All right. Large noses are a trademark with Italian men, Diane. Is that good?
Yeah, I have a fetish for noses. I think that gives someone personality, and he had a nice big nose.
Really?
Yeah.
Nose.
All right. All right. Ron did pretty good. Ron's got 5, but 5 doesn't beat a perfect 9 by Anthony. Oh, my God. Oh, how exciting. Here's the deal, guys. You can still win, though, Ron, because it's double or nothing now. All you got to do is tell me who you want to go out with. If she wants to go out with you again, still going, you get to go and we pay for it, all right?
Perfect.
We'll start with you.
All right. I didn't pick Connie. It dragged too long. I had no clue, like, really where the feelings were, so I kind of left Connie out.
Okay.
Didn't pick Vala. Vala was a great girl, but I just had the best date with Diane.
Okay. All right. And if Diane had her best date with you, where are you guys going to go?
I figure we get a houseboat on the Colorado River for a couple days and lie naked during the day and
Of course.
make love naked at night.
You should get a house Jeep.
A house Jeep. I was
Perhaps.
thinking about it.
All
With a
right.
blowing condom.
Or a Jeep boat. Anthony, perfect stud. Same deal with you.
Well, I had a good time with Connie. We just didn't click. It just didn't go off, so I didn't pick her.
Okay.
Also, had a great time with Diane. Nothing wrong with the date. Everything went wonderful. I didn't pick her. And hands Vala. She's it. She's forever. She's forever.
I'm shocked. If Vala picks you, where are you guys going to go?
I think we're going to go to Aspen, Colorado. We'll melt the slopes during the day, and we'll snuggle by a fire at night.
Oh, Aspen, Colorado, the bedtime story capital of America, I believe. All right.
We'll make it to bedtime.
I'm sure you will. Connie, neither of the guys picked you. Did you have fun on the show?
Yes, I did.
Swear?
Swear.
Okay, well, you get a pack of Jiffy Instant Pudding as our little going away gift. Would you show us who you picked there? Oh, Ron. All right, Ron selected Diane. Diane, if you picked Ron, you could be off on a fabulous houseboat trip on the Colorado River. Ooh, it's going to be chilly. Ron! All right, pal. It's all up to you. Diane picked Ron in the incredibly unlikely chance that you picked Anthony. You're off to Aspen and skiing and bedtime storing and melting snow. What's it going to be? Oh, my God, I don't believe it. That perfect stud finishes the race. Good job. Oh, my. And it warms the cockles of my heart, I tell you. We'll see you next time. Bye.
Ron and Nicole were friends who had met in April 1994, although it's unclear how the two met. They went to the gym together and met for coffee and dinner frequently and were often seen out dancing. Although Ron always told his friends his relationship with Nicole was platonic, he always bragged about her stunning looks and how when they went out, heads turned to look at her. One of Ron's friends had told The Sun, "He definitely would have told me if he was seeing O.J. Simpson's ex-wife. That's just the kind of guy Ron was. Whenever he was dating someone, we all knew about it." At 10:15, Nicole's neighbors started to hear her dog barking, and 15 minutes later, one of her neighbors, Nick Schwab, took his dog out for a walk. OJ's limo driver arrived at his home on Rockingham Avenue around 10:22 to drive him to the airport for his trip to Chicago. Over at OJ's Rockingham Avenue residence, Cato Kalin, who was on the phone, heard 3 thumps on the wall near his air conditioner at 10:40 p.m. Cato walked outside his home at 10:55 to inspect the noise and saw the limo driver, who was still waiting for OJ, outside the house. 5 minutes later, O.J. Simpson came outside his home, packed and ready to head to the airport. He helped Cato search outside for a possible intruder around his property before leaving for the airport. At the same time, on Bundy Drive, Nick Schwab, who was out walking his dog, found Nicole Simpson's dog walking the streets alone and brought the dog to his house. At 11:40, Sucru Bostepe, another neighbor on Bundy Drive, took Nicole's dog from Nick Schwab and noticed red spots that looked like blood on the dog's paws and legs. OJ flew from LA to Chicago at 11:45 a.m. on American Airlines. Bostepe took the dog for a walk at midnight, and while Bostepe was taking Cato the Akita for a walk, he started pulling over to Nicole's residence. And it was because of this that Bostepe came upon the bodies of Ron and Nicole. What a smart dog. Sure, he could have just been recognizing his familiar home, but it sounded like, based on the behavior of the dog, he really was trying to alert neighbors or someone to the distress that was happening at the residence. Because even Pablo Fenves, I think I'm hopefully saying that right, he was the ghostwriter for OJ's book, If I Did It. And he also happened to be a neighbor of Nicole's. He noted the time that he heard wails from the dog because he said it was so distinct. It sounded like plaintive wails, not like a regular dog barking. So I think it's interesting how much this dog sort of factors into this investigation, to the point where OJ's opening line upon meeting Pablo when they were sitting down to discuss him being OJ's ghostwriter was something along the lines of, "Have you ever heard of a guy getting locked up on the testimony of a dog?" Which I guess was simultaneously supposed to be an icebreaker for them, and him undermining Pablo's testimony. Although we all know that in a homicide investigation, every bit of physical evidence like that is crucial in constructing a timeline. And OJ's defense was trying to say that there was absolutely no way that he could have been at the Bundy residence when all of this was happening. Officer Robert Risk, a member of the LAPD, arrived at the scene and noticed the slain bodies of Nicole Brown and Ron Goldman outside her home a little after 12:09 a.m. on June 13, 1994. He and his partner responded to the call of a possible robbery on Bundy Drive. When they arrived on the scene, Nicole's neighbor, who had found her body, flagged Officer Risk down and directed him to Nicole's house. Nicole was lying in a black dress and a puddle of blood on the walkway, and Ron was lying against a back fence off to the side. I'm not going to include those pictures here, but I'm going to link for you down below. Just a fair warning, they're graphic, but if you want to take a look at them, you can check it out. Officer Risk said he found bloody footprints, one glove, and a knit cap near the two bodies. The officer walked inside the home and found Nicole and OJ's 2 young children, Sydney and Justin. They were asleep in their rooms. He woke them up and they were taken to the police station. As the officer took the children out of the home, he didn't notice any sign of a struggle or a ransacking. On the way out the door, Sydney told Officer Robert Risk that her father was OJ Simpson. Officer Robert Risk then radioed into dispatch after he saw a piece of mail with Nicole Brown Simpson's name on it that he thought, quote, OJ was involved somehow. Inside the master bathroom of Nicole's house, there were lit candles and a full bathtub. The television was on and there was a half-melted bowl of ice cream on the downstairs banister. The renowned acting teacher, Stella Adler, has this quote that where you are is who you are. And when you take a look at where Ron and Nicole were and the activities that they were engaged in at the time of their brutal murders, it's all the more heartbreaking. Nicole was having this lovely night of self-care, like knowing that she had a half full bowl of melted Ben & Jerry's chocolate chip cookie dough, or that Ron was found with the glasses in the envelope. It's just details like that are heart-wrenching. Reading through OJ's If I Did It, it's so frustrating listening to him for most of the book, pretending that his main issue with Nicole was that supposedly he was afraid of the crowd that she was running with and the influence that they would have on the kids. So it was all about protect the kids' safety at all costs and be an appropriate grown-up around the kids, etc. I mean, this is just the tip of the iceberg in terms of hypocrisy, but it's like, how concerned are you for your kids if you allow this to happen outside their window? For your children to potentially be the first ones to find them if it wasn't for the dog wandering the streets. Detectives with the LAPD, Mark Furman and Philip Van Adder, arrived at OJ Simpson's house to inform him of the murders at 5:15. They examined an apparent blood stain on OJ's Bronco. Detective Mark Furman jumped the wall around OJ's home in order for police to get inside the estate. Inside the house, OJ's oldest daughter, Arnell, was asleep inside. The detective woke her up and escorted her out of the house. 2 hours later at 7 a.m., detectives Furman and Vanader declared OJ's house a crime scene and obtained a warrant to search the premises. Both detectives would justify their entry onto OJ's property by stating that the blood on the Ford Bronco and a blood trail that led from the car to his property led them to think he could have been a victim of the same person who killed Ron and Nicole. While searching the premises, Detective Furman found the right glove that matched the one near Ron Goldman's body. At 6 a.m. Los Angeles time, an officer called OJ at his hotel in Chicago and informed him that his ex-wife was dead. According to the officer who informed OJ of Nicole's death, he never asked how she died or what happened. After learning of Nicole's death, OJ flew from Chicago back to LA. At 10:45, armed with a search warrant this time, the officers searched OJ's estate on Rockingham and found more blood in his Bronco and on his property. OJ arrived back home at noon and was promptly handcuffed and escorted to the police station where he was questioned for nearly 4 hours. On June 15, 1994, Robert Shapiro became OJ Simpson's lead attorney. The following day, a funeral service was held for Ron and Nicole. OJ attended Nicole's funeral service with their 2 children. On June 17, 1994, OJ was charged with 2 counts of murder with special circumstances, and prosecutors admitted that they were considering seeking the death penalty. Although OJ had told authorities he would surrender, instead he fled in the infamous white Ford Bronco and became a fugitive.
The intersection of the 5 and the 91 freeway. One thing we have been noticing, again, it's a very slow pursuit, followed by numerous highway patrol vehicles, but because of the intensity, it seems like people have heard about what's going on, and all the overpasses that we've seen have been lined with cars. What has been going on down below as the presumed vehicle of O.J. Simpson is still traveling very slowly northbound along the 5 freeway, coming up again towards the 91 intersection. At that point, we'll just have to wait and see which way he's going to go, but at this point, it's still a fairly laid-back situation, dangerous situation at the same time, because again, the highway patrol does not want to intimidate, and I repeat, do not want to intimidate this vehicle into doing anything that they really don't want him to do, and the main thing is to get him pulled over as safely as possible, and there's only a couple ways that'll happen. One is him just pulling over and or running out of gas. So at this point, we can only pray that they'll be able to pull this off in a safe measure.
His friend Al Cowlings drove the vehicle. OJ's fans lined the streets and cheered him on as Al drove the Bronco past them. Helicopters tracked OJ's Bronco for 60 miles, and footage of the chase interrupted broadcasts of the NBA Finals. For me, this is one of those where were you when it happened moments. I remember turning it on the TV and watching it, and in my little kid brain, I remember thinking that if he was running, he must have done it. Later, of course, his defense would twist into this whole other thing, but let me know where you were when you saw this. Did you stop to look at it? And what did you think about OJ's guilt or innocence based on this Bronco chase? I remember being absolutely riveted by it. Eventually, around 9 p.m., OJ surrendered and was arrested for the murder of his ex-wife, Nicole Brown, and Ron Goldman. He was denied bail. On July 20th, 1994, Robert Shapiro, OJ's attorney, set up a tip line and stated that OJ was offering a $500,000 reward for information leading to the arrest of the real killer or killers. 2 days later, OJ pleaded, quote, absolutely, 100% not guilty.
But I want to say one thing to the American people. I want you to listen to me. I'm going to say this again. I did not have sexual relations with that woman, Miss Lewinsky. I never told anybody to lie, not a single time, never. These allegations are false, and I need to go back to work for the American people.
Court papers disclosed at the end of August that DNA tests conducted on the blood trailing from the murder scene shared the same genetic makeup as OJ. A few weeks later, the prosecution announced they would not seek the death penalty, but they were seeking life without the possibility of parole. Jury selection began in the fall of 1994, and Judge Lance Ito was assigned to the case. A jury of 8 women and 4 men were selected. 15 alternates, an unusually high number of potential substitutes, because of Judge Ito's fear that jurors would be tainted by publicity. The panel had 8 African Americans, 1 Hispanic, 1 white person, and 2 people of mixed race. The jurors came from Inglewood, Long Beach, Burbank, Glendale, South Central, and East Los Angeles. 1 was a postal worker, 1 was a flight attendant, 1 was an Amtrak manager, 1 was a dietitian. 2 of them held college degrees, and 9 jurors graduated from high school. 1 was a truck driver who delivered Pepsi and finished 11 years of public school. Ironically, 1 juror was employed by Hertz for 25 years. Can't escape Hertz. So that's gonna be it for me today, y'all. In the next episode, I'm gonna get into the criminal trial and everything pertaining to that. Thanks for watching, and I'll see y'all next time.